Hello golfers, I'm Greg Jones, Greg the Golf Guy. It's going to be a great tip to help you improve your short game, help you improve your chip shot. Definition of a chip shot is putt with loft. The one thing that we want to do is we want to talk about what clubs to choose. So when we take a look at the green here, we've got two different pins on the green. We've got a near pin and a far pin. On the right side of the green, what I've done is I put a couple sticks in the green. Those stationary sticks mark the halfway to each one of those targets. So the nearest one is the halfway mark to the first pin, and the furthest one is the halfway mark to the second pin. What we want to do is we want to talk now about our equipment just a little bit. Three clubs, primary clubs for chip shots are sand wedge, pitching wedge, 7-iron. A 7-iron will fly in the air 1 yard less than 1/4 of the way and roll out 1 yard more than 3/4 of the way. A pitching wedge will fly in the air 1 yard less than half the way and roll out 1 yard more than half the way. And a sand wedge will fly in the air 1 yard less than 3/4 of the way and roll out 1 yard more than 1/4 of the way. Now let's hit some shots. Let's kind of check out and see how these clubs work for us. Now that we understand club selection, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a sand wedge. I want to go to the first pin. As you can see, this stationary stick over here on the right, the first one is halfway to the first pin. The second stationary stick on the right is halfway to the second pin. So what I want to do is I want to use a sand wedge to the first pin. I want to feel the shot before I actually hit the shot. And remember, the definition of a chip shot is putt with loft. So I want to use a putting motion. So now, I want to feel the shot before I execute it, and then step up and execute. That's how hard I want to hit it. And now I want to step up and hit that shot exactly like that. So right there, I've got probably about a 3-foot putt. Now, as you can see, I had to hit that 3/4 of the way. So the second thing that I'm going to do now is, instead of me having to hit the ball that far, what I want to do is I want to use a pitching wedge. I've got plenty of room to use a pitching wedge. So instead of me trying to hit the ball with a sand wedge, I just want to hit it barely on the green and let it roll to the pin. Remember this, the shorter I can make the shot, the more consistent I can become. So I just want to hit barely on the green and then step up and execute the shot. And as you can see now, I've only got about a 1 to 2 foot putt. So actually using a shorter stroke allowed me to be a little bit more consistent. Many times I see golfers in these areas trying to pop the ball up. Chip shot, putt with loft. Putts are low, not high. So we want nice soft hands. How do we get soft hands? We get soft hands because we have soft arms. This allows us to control the shot much more. Now, we want to go to the far pin. The far pin, the first thing we start thinking of is how far do I have to hit it? Well, I always want to think of it backwards. I want to think of it, how short can I hit it? So when I take a look at this second pin being halfway to the second stationary stick rather on the right, being halfway to the second pin, I want to try to keep the shot that short. So remember, a 7-iron will fly 1 yard less than 1/4 of the way and roll out 1 yard more than 3/4 of the way. So what I think I'm going to choose here is a nice 8-iron. So hitting an 8-iron on this shot will allow me to hit in between the two stationary sticks on the right and should allow that ball to roll out to the far pin with the least amount of effort, or what I said earlier, trying to always pick out the shortest shot. And again, I want to use just about that stroke. That's the same stroke that I used to the short pin on the left, but now I'm just using a different club. Let's see how that works out. Other than a few bounces, right now I've got about I would say a 5 to 6 foot putt. I'm perfectly pin high. I didn't take into account the break of the green as much as I would like, but I definitely have the exact distance that the shot required. So all I wanted to do again was hit towards the front of the green. Remember, the shortest motion I can make, the more consistent I can become. You'll never use the same club on approach shots from 50, 75, and 100 yards away. So don't try to use the same club on all your chip shots. Remember, you have 3 pin positions. You have a near-sided pin, a mid pin, and a far pin. On the near-sided pin, I choose one of 4 wedges. I have my pitching wedge, my gap, my sand, and my loft. On the mid pin, I cut the wedges in half and use a gap or a pitch, 9 or an 8-iron. On the far pin, I cut the wedges in half again, and I use a pitching wedge, 9, 8, or 7-iron. I stick to those rules. The USGA sets down the rules of play. I set down the rules of my personal golf game. Sticking to those rules of play keep me from having too much challenge and allow me to be much more consistent. Using this method is surely going to help you improve your chipping and lower your golf scores. For more golf tips to improve your golf game, visit www.gregthegolfguy.com.